Out of the 4 alternatives, choose the word opposite in meaning to the given word. So the first word that we have is disparage. Disparage, right? And then I have 4 options: compliment, derogate, discredit, and disdain. So again, disparage could be a completely new word. I have no idea. I don't have a context to help me, right? So how do I figure out the meaning of this word from the given options? So some of you, especially those of you who have been part of our system, you are familiar with the concept of root words or prefixes and suffixes, right? Or otherwise also, the rest of you also can give it a try. So tell me, what's the very obvious prefix here from the given word, disparage? Can anybody identify the prefix from the given word? Kritika, I would request you to go to settings and change your resolution. That should help you. Yes, Malik, Swati, correct, right? The prefix is dis. Most of you got it. That's the most obvious prefix here. Now, just for you to have an idea, the prefix dis means not. Right? So it brings in the meaning of negation. Not something. Alright? So look at the options. I have compliment, I have derogate, I have discredit, and I have disdain. Now, keep in mind, don't get confused with the word, the question itself. The question is, I need to choose the word opposite in meaning. Right? Which means, similar words that have the prefix dis, I can safely eliminate, which is option C and option D. Discredit, disdain. Right? Discredit means loss of respect or trust or belief. Reputation is damaged. Likewise, disdain. Disdain means you don't like it, you dislike it, you reject it. Right? So again, both these words are giving you the same meaning as the given word. Discredit, disdain. So I can safely eliminate that because they almost like synonyms, bringing in the negation meaning. So I have to choose between A and B. Again, in B, if you look at it, you have another very common prefix, DE. Right? Now this prefix DE also means opposite of. Right? Can you think of words where you know it's giving me the opposite meaning? I'll give you a couple of words, maybe you can add to it, right? So if you say demerit, right? It's the opposite of merit, right? Absence of merit. Or if I say degrade, degrade is to reduce, either in grade, rank, or status. Yeah, deforestation, good, Vikram. Right? So, mostly, yeah, I wanted to think of words, descriptive linking words, right? Which is also fine, but I wanted to think of words that give the opposite meaning of something. Like, for example, I'll give you some examples. Demerit, it's the opposite of merit, degrade. Right, which is to reduce in grade, rank, or status, or derange. That's another word, right? Which means it's the opposite of order, disorder. Right? So having said that in mind, I know derail. Yes, very good, Kumar. So what's the opposite of the given word here? I can safely go ahead and say compliment. Right? Compliment is an expression of praise or admiration, or you're congratulating somebody, right? So what have we looked at here? Just by understanding the meaning of the prefix dis and de, we have gone ahead and eliminated wrong answer choices and arrived at the right answer. Right? The next one we have is impede. The same thing, we're looking at choosing the opposite in meaning of this word impede. Right? What's the obvious prefix here. Right? That's my obvious prefix. In. In also is another prefix, yes. My options are obstruct, hinder, facilitate, and clog. So again, I'm trying to find out. Now, this word impede could be a completely new word. I don't know the meaning of this word. So how do I figure out the opposite of this word from the given options? In as a prefix, right, also means not and or opposite of, right? I want you to think of words again. Couple of words, just to give you an example. Impossible, opposite of possible. Immobile, opposite of mobile. Impolite, you can also come up with words. Opposite of polite. Immoral, right? Immoral, opposite of moral. Immortal, yes, good. Impure, imperfect, there you go. So ideally, this word im means opposite of, the prefix, not the word, the prefix. Right? Now, pede, that particular root, right? It has a meaning of movement. Impatient, yeah. A lot of you are giving me a lot of example words. Now, we are talking about something that is not allowing movement or progress. And from my options, what are those words? Something that obstructs, something that hinders, and something that clogs, right? When you say something is clogged, like say for example, the pipe in your house is clogged, right? The sink in the kitchen or whatever, that particular sink pipe is clogged, means there's something blocking the flow of the water, right? So all these words, A, B, and C, are synonyms. Something that is obstructing, hindering the progress of something. So what is the opposite? The answer is C, facilitate. Facilitate means assists in the progress, right? You would normally facilitate in a group discussion, right? You lead the discussion either by asking questions or mediating between opposing viewpoints or ensuring all participants' viewpoints are heard. So facilitate is the opposite of impede. Impede as a word means to hinder, stopping the progress of, opposite of movement or progress. Obstructs the progress of something. Yeah? So one more very common prefix that we learned is in, apart from this. Let's move on. Let's try other question types. So we're going to look at as many, common prefixes and suffixes and their meanings. Plus, we'll also pay attention to a couple of root words. The next one, hyperbole. Hyperbole. So if I look at this word again, I can dissect the word immediately into two parts. So how can I dissect it? It's a very clear distinction, right? As soon as I see this word, I know a lot of words that starts with hyper. So we're looking at hyperbole, right? Ready is first to give me the answer. So hyperbole, extravagant, my options, exaggeration, understatement, embellishment. So I immediately dissect this word, hyperbole, right? Hyper itself means, this is something that you would be familiar of, right? It's a figure of speech where you're saying exaggeration is used for emphasis or effect, hypertension, hyperventilated, right? So something is over and above, something is exaggerated for emphasis or effect. So having said that, look at my options. I have extravagant, exaggeration, understatement, and embellishment. Now, extravagant or exaggeration is something that you could be aware of, right? The word itself gives you the meaning. Exaggeration is not a very difficult word. It's a very simple, common word, and you understand what it is. Over and beyond. When you exaggerate something, you're making it out to be more than what actually it is. Right? Extravagant also means going over and above, being lavish, right? Either in your expenses or in the way you dress or however it is. So the only other word that you probably may not be aware of is embellishment. Now, embellishment is again, it could be something as an elaborated addition or a superfluous ornament, right? Something that's probably very flashy, right? Something very elaborate. So having looked at this, I know all these words except for obviously C, understatement, right, which is the opposite of hyperbole. So just knowing this prefix or just dissecting the word and looking at familiar parts that you can connect with other words will help you arrive at choosing the answer. Let's see if we have some more challenging words, right? Hyper is something that it's not very difficult. The next one, irresolute. Irresolute. Exactly. Duga, you're right. It's like finding the odd one out. If you know the meaning of certain parts of the word, it becomes much more easier, right? Irresolute. What's the obvious? Yes. Joshi, Vikram, the obvious prefixes IR. Now most of the prefixes or root words are derived from either Latin or Greek. It's just good to know. You don't need to know which prefix is Latin, which root is Greek. Not really, right? That's not important. What's important is to have an idea of what that prefix means, right? So I can obviously attach this prefix to a lot more words. Irresistible, irrelevant, right? So having said that, let's look at what the answer is. Irresolute. Now, ir again is a Latin prefix which means not. Right? So most of you are getting confused here. I want you to pay a little attention. When I'm saying irresolute and I'm saying the meaning of this word prefix is not, which means this is not resolute. Is that what it is? Yeah? So let's look at our options. Yeah, Kritika is giving me an example. Fickle, obstinate, resolute, stubborn. So stubborn means refusing to change one's mind. Resolute is firm or determined, unwavering. Obstinate is stubbornly adhering to an attitude. You're being stubborn again. Right? Obstinate, stubborn are all synonyms. Fickle is easily changeable, erratic, and unstable. So we're looking at something. So this is, keep in mind, we are saying not resolute, which means resolute means something that is firm or determined or unwavering. So irresolute means uncertain, showing or feeling hesitancy, right? So for me, if you look at this, see, please understand, resolute means firm or determined, right? That's the same meaning as stubborn. When I say someone is stubborn, I'm saying they refuse to change one's mind. Obstinate, I'm saying, again, stubbornly adhering to something. So C, B, and D actually are synonyms. So we are looking at the word irresolute and we are asking, I think the question here is a little incorrect if you ask me, because irresolute means showing hesitancy. It's the opposite of resolute, right? Not resolute. So somebody who is not firm or determined will be hesitant, right? So what I feel what's happened in this question type is a good thing that we check. So the opposite of that should be resolute actually, but we have too many options here. B and D also will go. Fickle, in fact is a synonym of irresolute. Somebody who's fickle is again easily changeable, erratic, unstable. Right? So let's not dwell on this question and arrive at an answer, because I feel the options here are a little, I mean, it's incorrect if you ask me, the options here. Right? So hopefully you will not come across questions like this in the exam. This could be just a one-off situation. But let's move on. The next one, incongruous. Again, a very obvious prefix. What's the obvious prefix? There you go. In, right? That's another obvious prefix. So far we've looked at this, we've looked at in, we've looked at hyper, we've looked at IR. So in, this prefix also means not. Right? It has different meanings. It can just mean in or on or not. Right? So think of words. Insane, not sane. Inconsistent, not consistent. Can you think of other words? Incorrect, not correct. Incomplete, not complete. Inappropriate. Right? So let's look at our options. You may not even understand the meaning of congruous, but let's look at our options. Option A says discordant, misaligned, suitable, incoherent. Right? Now this is pretty easy. Why? Because we already are familiar with this prefix dis. Right? We already know that this also means not. Almost synonym. I have another option in D saying incoherent, which means not coherent. Right? Again, I have the same meaning, negation. So the only other word maybe what I don't know is misaligned. Now mis as a prefix, yeah, that's another prefix, also means incorrectly, right? Wrongly. Right? Can you think of words? Misrepresent. Let me put down some words here, right? Which brings in this meaning. Mistrust. Mistake. Misbehave. Not behaving properly. Not trusting. Right? So from my options, what's the opposite of the given word? Because I have an idea of the prefixes dis, mis, and in, I can safely say suitable. I may not even know the meaning of discordant. I may not even know the meaning of misaligned. I may not even know the meaning of incoherent, which is still fine. But what I know is, I know the meaning of this prefix, dis and mis and in. And that is helping me arrive at the answer option. Right? Yeah, misbelief, misunderstand, mislanding, misconduct. Yes. Another word. Veracity. Yeah. How can I kind of look at this word? How can I dissect this word? Where can I split this word? Think of words which starts with V-E-R. V-E-R. Yeah. Now this is a word, is a Latin root word, which means, the meaning is truth or truth, right? So, example words, verdict. Verdict is giving the right, in a trial, giving the right verdict. Verify. We verify to make sure it's true. The information is true, right? So, keeping this in mind, let's look at our options. I have credibility, I have accuracy, I have integrity, and I have imprecision, right? So, I know verb has to do something with true or truth because of understanding that root word, which gives me that meaning. So, looking at my options, credibility, option A. When will you be credible? Or how will people consider you credible? Because you're believable. You can be trusted. And that can happen only when you are true to yourself and others, right? How will you build on credibility when you're true to yourself and others? True. Accuracy. Something correct, right, true. Integrity. Integrity will happen again when you are true. Integrity is abiding by certain rules and conforming to certain systems, right? So all these three words, A, B, C, kind of brings in the meaning of being true to self, being able to, being believable, being trusted. So the only opposite in meaning is imprecision, not. Because I already know the meaning of this prefix im, which means not. We just saw a couple of words, right? Impolite, imperfect. There's your answer. So how many prefixes have we looked at so far? We looked at dis, we looked at in, we looked at hyper, we looked at ir, we looked at were now in this question as a root word, and we looked at imminent. One more, abstain. Again, we are looking at the opposite. How can I quickly dissect this word? What's the obvious prefix here? AB, right? That's the obvious prefix. Now, AB as a prefix means away, right? So, if I look at a couple of words that starts with AB, absent. When will you be absent? When you're not there, away from a place, right? Abduct. Abduct means to kidnap, carry off by force. So somebody takes you away from wherever you are, right? So abstain, this might not be a difficult word again. So you're taking something from something else, absorb, abstract. You're taking something away from its source. So abstain. When I say abstain, I'm saying to refrain from doing something. To be away and not do that. Right? So, again, let's look at our options here. I have indulge, I have desist, I have refrain, I have forbear. Okay? Refrain is an easy word. Right? It's not a difficult word. When I say refrain, I'm resisting from doing something. I'm keeping away. I'm refraining from that. Maulik, we're looking at the opposite in meaning. Refrain is actually giving me the same meaning as abstain. When I'm abstaining from something, I'm refraining from doing that. Desist, resist, to stop doing something. It has the same meaning as resist. Desist, when I say desist, I'm saying I'm stopping myself from doing that, to stop doing something. When I'm saying refrain, I'm keeping away from it. Forbear also means to hold back. How can I hold back? I'm staying away from whatever it is. So all of this is giving me the same meaning as abstain, to refrain from, to be away, to refrain from doing something. So the obvious antonym is indulge. Indulge means you're giving in. You're giving in to the desire. You are yielding to the desire. Right? Okay. So far, let's do a quick look at how many prefixes we looked at. We looked at in, right? We looked at in. We looked at miss. Right? One of the example words we looked at that. Right? Anything that I have missed out? And this. Hyper. Yeah, that's something that we looked at. Yeah, let me write it down. So if you look at most of these and where, so I'm going to write that down here. So just having an idea of these prefixes is kind of making my job easy. Even if there is no context, I'm still able to figure it out. Can we quickly look at some synonyms as well? Maybe we look at some root words and know their meaning. Right? We're moving on. So far, we looked at the words opposite in meaning to the given word. Now we're going to look at words giving me the same meaning. So choose the one which best expresses the meaning of the given word. Okay. So what do we have here? Our first word is corpulent. Right? That's our first word. And my options are lean, gaunt, emaciated, and obese. Lean, gaunt, emaciated, and obese. Now, are these difficult words? Not really, right? Lean, I know. Emaciated, I'm sure you would have heard of it. Obese, you know. Probably the only word that you may not know the meaning of is gaunt, right? Now, we're going to pay attention to a couple of root words here. Now, C-O-R-P, cort, is a Latin root word. What does it mean? It has to do with body. Okay, and if you look at the term, the options given, everything has to do with body, right? It's talking about a certain condition, how the body is in a certain condition, whether this person is extremely thin or very fat, right? So corporate again is a body consisting of people. So apart from this corp, there's another root in the same word, which is P-U-L, which means an urge. That's another root word, right? Which means an urge to do something. When I have an urge, I do something. I go out of my way and indulge myself in something. So basically, we have two root words in front of us. We have corp and we have pull. So the given word is giving me a meaning saying, I have an urge to do something to my body, and as a result, my body exists in a certain condition. So what are my options? A, B, C, D. Lean, same meaning as emaciated. Gaunt also means same meaning. So obviously the word that best expresses the given word is obese, right? So keeping in mind that you have an urge to probably eat unhealthily results in excessive body fat, and that's why you become obese. Are you following? So just the knowledge of these two root words has helped you figure out the same meaning word. Let's move on to our next question. Cogent. Cogent. What are my options? Tentative, forced, convincing, brusque. Tentative, forced, convincing, brusque. Now, just to give you a heads up again. Are you familiar with any of the root words? C-O-G. Now, C-O-G is again a Latin root word, right? Which means to know. To know. Okay, now what are my options? Tentative, forced, convincing, brusque. So I need a word that gives me the same meaning from the options. Now when I say tentative, it's you are not too sure. Tentatively, this is what I think it is. You've heard people use tentative in contexts, right? So tentative means not certain or fixed. Forced, right? You're basically kind of forcing your opinion or idea upon someone else. Convincing. When can you sound convincing? When you have the relevant information, right? Only when you have relevant information or you know something, you can be powerfully persuasive or believable. And then we have brusque, which is the fourth option, right? So brusque again is being very abrupt or offhanded in your speech or manner. So having said that, the closest one that is giving you the meaning just because of this root word and the meaning that you have know, only when you know something and you're absolutely certain about something, you will sound convincing, you can persuade people, you're believable. So the meaning is see. Now, basically we've dissected the word into two root words. Saying caught means body. This is for that person who did not follow, right? Just for that person, I'm repeating myself here. So caught means body. Pul means urge. So when I have an urge, you're doing something over and above what is required to your body. And from the given options, because all three options, lean, emaciated, gaunt, means thin, the only other option was obese, which is the same meaning. You have an urge to eat unhealthily, right? Juvenile. Juvenile, this word is not a very difficult word, but some of you again may not know the meaning, right? So again, for information's sake, juven is again a Latin root word. We are looking at synonyms. Choose the one which best expresses the meaning. Synonyms, not antonyms, right? Juven, Latin root word. That means young. So what are my options? I have nascent, immature, fawning, painful. So when you look at this word juvenile, you know that when you're young, you're immature, right? You can relate to it. So what you need to do is, when you're applying the concept of root words, you need to kind of think logically. Okay, I understand the meaning of juven, young. So what can I quickly relate to from the given options? When is somebody painful? When is somebody fawning? When is somebody nascent? You don't even need the meaning of that. When I say nascent, right, I'm talking about, Kumar, I'm talking about birth. When I say nascent, right, it relates to birth. Now that has nothing to do with young. Young is at the probably a couple of stages later after birth. It's not right at the beginning. So I can't relate to that. I need to choose the word that best expresses the meaning. So even if you get sidetracked with nascent, which is not very close to the options given. So I am young when I am immature. The answer is B. Convivial. Convivial. I can clearly dissect this word into a couple of parts. Convivial. Right? Now, con could be a prefix. However, the root word that we're going to look at is viv. Viv means to live, life, right? And from the given option, sometimes you may not know the meaning of certain words like terse and laconic and genial. Now, from the given options, also you could dissect it and come up with words, right? Now, just because I said to live and life does not mean we're talking about happiness. Living life could be hard for some people, right? It also has other aspects to life. There is sadness, there is distress, there is discouragement. So I don't want you to get sidelined again with the option C, which is saying happy. However, in your options, there is another word, genial. Now, Gen is another root word. It's a Greek root word, which means to give life. Right? So, what I'm trying to say here is, it's good to have an understanding of the given word, but you can also look at the options, and if there are words, be familiar with certain root words from the given options as well. So an understanding of the Greek root word gen, which means to give life, can help you with the answer in questions like this. Right? So convivial, the closest meaning is D. We only looked at two root words here, gen and viv. To give life, production, formation, kind. Do we have time for a couple of more? Nefarious. Nefarious. So again, let's break it down. Let's dissect the word. Right? Ne is a Latin prefix, which means not. So this is another prefix you can add to your list from what we looked at earlier. It indicates negation on especially nouns and adjectives, right? So having said that, let's look at our options. Foreshadowing, villainous, blessed, benevolent. So because it gives me a negative meaning, nefarious, right? Blessed and benevolent are positive words. We know that. Benevolent again has another root word which means well. It's a positive word, right? Benefit, beneficial, benediction. Just to give you examples of other words that start with benefit. Again, you may not know the meaning of this word benevolent, but just understanding the root ben, which means well, and other examples, right? Benefit, beneficial, benediction. All of these are positive words. C and D, positive. Foreshadowing again it's just to present an indication beforehand or suggestion, right? That's also a positive word. So the only negative word is B, villainous. And we're looking at the meaning of nefarious. So just understanding the prefix meaning any, which gives me negation. Looking at my options, I eliminate all the words that give me a positive meaning and I arrive at the answer. Intimidate. This is another easy one. How are we going to dissect this? The obvious, we've already looked at this prefix when we saw antonyms. So what's the obvious one here? In, yeah. Apart from that, we're also going to look at another root word which is tim. T-I-M. That's a root word. It's a Latin root word, okay? Which means be afraid. Right? Timid. That's a good example. When you're timid, you are not very brave or strong. So because of that root word, tim, be afraid, what do you think is a synonym from the given options? To hint, frighten, bluff, harass. Yes. Immediately, you know it's B, frighten. You are afraid. So just the understanding of that root tim got you to arrive at the answer. Right? Let's look at one more. Neophyte. So again, dissecting the word, we have neo. Now neo is again it's a Greek root word, right? Which means new and recent. Yeah? So when I'm talking about neo, I'm talking about the meaning is new. Something very recent, something very young. Let's look at our options. Parsimony, guru, expert, fledgling. What do you think is the answer here? You may not know this word parsimony, so just for the benefit. Parsimonious means somebody who is very stingy. And then I have guru and expert. Guru and expert are somebody who are very experienced people. What's a fledgling? What's a fledgling? We're looking at best expresses the meaning. Vikram. Yes, Vinodini is correct here, right? A fledgling is a young bird that has recently acquired its flight feathers, right? So, keeping in mind the Greek root word neo, I know the answer is D, fledgling. Sometimes we get a little confused, right? We need to make sure to fall back on the question. Are they asking for antonym or synonym? Right? So, again, what are some of the root words that we've looked at? There were some repetition of prefixes, but we've looked at, let me put it down. We have neo here. Then we saw tim, neo, viv, gen, Yeah. So these are pretty much some root words that we looked at. We looked at Ben as well. Yes, that's right. Juven. There you go. Some more that I missed out on. So about 8 root words we looked at. So keep practicing, and I will see you guys in the next session. Take care.